Spearsy here. This episode of Stuck in the 80s is sponsored by our longtime friends at HelloFresh. It's been a while since I talked about HelloFresh on the air, but never fear, I'm still a loyal customer and proponent of the best meal delivery service out there. And like I said before, it's made a big difference in my life. I've finally learned how to cook and eat healthy. That's because HelloFresh has 2 full-time dietitians on staff who make sure everything you have in your box is balanced and healthy. And each box is now priced at under $10 each. Seriously, you're not going to eat better for less anywhere else with a different plan. Last time I talked about HelloFresh, I had just seen my doctor, and he was really happy about how he turned my health around. Well, I see him again in a couple weeks, and I can't wait to show him how HelloFresh has continued to help me. Anyway, you can order HelloFresh and save $30 off your first order. Just use the promo code RADICAL30. Go to HelloFresh.com, sign up, and use RADICAL30 when it asks for a promo code. If you have any questions or you want to know what kind of amazing meals I've been having, heck, I'll send you photos of the last meals if you want. Just email me at steve@sit80s.com. Now on with the show.
Travel back in time to the 80s, reliving the laughter, the heroes,
Pick up your phone and call the professionals. Go Ghostbusters.
and the honesty.
What's that, Norm? My nipples. It's freezing out there.
Because just like you, we're stuck in the 80s.
Sure, it's not 1985 right now, but who knows what tomorrow will bring?
Hey, welcome to Stuck in the 80s. It's your old buddies. It's your pal, Spearsy.
And B-Rad.
And today we honor 3 more legendary albums from the 80s that are turning 30 years old.
You know, Stallion, it's too bad we gotta get old, huh?
Just keep punching, Apollo.
Joining us today, she's heard every album released in 1987. This is a little-known fact. But only the Kids Bop versions. It's Jen with one N.
Hey, guys. That is almost true.
Devo 2.0.
Totally.
Just a quick reminder that Stuck in the 80s is a member of the CLNS Podcast Network. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and the Kids Bop Media... No, I'm sorry, the CLNS Media mobile app.
Ooh, although the Kids Bop Media mobile app would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, but get your parents'
if you had
permission
kids
first.
that still lived in your house.
Aw.
Yeah, send us pictures of dead presidents. So this is a format we keep coming back to the well, but the reason is because there are still more albums that have been released in the 80s. 30 years ago this month, there was a lot of stuff out, and we're not going to hit maybe the highest of the high points, but I think we've got some good stuff lined up for you today.
Yeah, I think we tried to pick albums that sort of spoke to us one way or another. I know I don't feel horrifically strong about my album pick. I don't even own it. I never owned it. But I'll still make a very good case for why you should listen to it.
I picked something that would speak to Spearsy, basically.
You did, and I appreciate that.
Because I am a toadying sycophant.
Brent, Jen, do you have some connection to your album?
I do, yeah. I owned the tape of this album. Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I'll explain later. I'll explain more later, but I did choose it for a very personal reason. It's not as exciting as it sounds. But
it's not. Mine isn't either.
Man.
Yeah, I know.
Stay
tuned, folks, for an awesome show.
Coming in the back half of the show.
I'll tell you what's exciting, though, and this is the most unlikely thing I'm ever going to see on the podcast. Brad is actually winning on FanDuel in the private Stuck in the 80s League.
That's
Congratulations,
right,
B-Rad.
How do you like me
believe
now?
this?
How do you like me now?
You know nothing about pro football.
Obviously, I know more than you.
I guess so. Oh my God! I'm in 3rd place after week 1. You're in 1st.
1st, 2nd, 3rd. You're in the top 3.
I think what it is we play a different game every week. So you won week 1, so now we go to week 2.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get too uppity about this, but hey, I'll take I think I made $1 on that. Don't think I won't spend that on peanut M&Ms and Barks
Well, that's
root beer.
all it costs. That's all it costs. $1 is all it costs to join any kind of contest. Not any contest, but the contest that we set up on FanDuel.
Yeah.
FanDuel is the sponsor of the podcast, as anyone who's listened to the last couple shows knows. And you can join and put money in and play a contest with us every week for $1, which is pretty cool. And if you want to find it, it's at www.sit80s.com/FanDuel. That will take you to the special page that we set up on FanDuel. And then you've got to remember, too, when you sign up with FanDuel, if you use the promo code RADICAL, when you make your first deposit into your account, you get a free entry into the Sunday Million contest, I believe it's called.
So, Steve, is it true that you're going to set up a high rollers league with $5,000 buy-ins?
God. I can only, if I'm in third place in this league and you're in first, then I can only imagine how poorly our competitors are at NFL knowledge. So I think we're playing with the right stakes right now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So anyway, that's it. So go to sit80s.com/FanDuel to enter, or email us at podcast@sit80s.com if you need more information. We're happy to lend you what little expertise we have.
Pick good players. There you go.
I got creamed because I picked the Bucs defense on all my teams last week, and the Bucs defense gave up, I think, like 34 points to Minnesota, and so hence, if I had a decent showing by the Bucs defense, I would have won. I'm just saying.
If wishes were fishes.
Yeah. Here's my wish, Brad. What album are you honoring from the fall of 1987?
1987, September. I give you the Smiths' final album, Strange Ways, Here We Come. So that's Stop Me If You Think You've Heard This One Before. I love this song off this album. It's a little bit deeper sound for the Smiths. They're kind of messing around a little bit with some new instruments. They're adding some saxophone. They're adding some synthesizer stuff in. And I just love the combination of the kind of sarcastic lyrics and the musical sound of this.
I like the fact that you can turn pretty much any Smiths song title into some sort of pun for a headline. So for a blogger like me, that's just great.
This song makes me wish I had listened to the Smiths more. I do not understand why I didn't, because like their whole vibe, their whole sarcastic, mopey vibe would have just, I don't know why I didn't connect with them for some reason. Maybe I didn't try hard enough.
I don't think I owned well, I know I didn't own it. I didn't own any Smiths albums, but I should have. I feel exactly the same way, Jen.
Why? It's so weird.
I don't know. I was too busy being mopey to go to the record store that week, I guess.
It would have been too ironic for any of us to have owned this album.
I didn't have enough black T-shirts. That's it. Like I said, this is the Smiths' last album. If you listen closely, you can hear Johnny Marr and Morrissey ripping at each other's throats. It was recorded in March 1987. Marr left the band in July, and then the album was released in September after he left. They brought in a new guy to replace Marr, but he basically left after saying they just wanted another Johnny Marr, and I didn't want to do that. The lead single from this album was Girlfriend in a Coma, which I know we're all familiar with because it's got that chipper, upbeat tune. And that was the last straw for Johnny Marr. Or I should say the B-side of that was the last straw. In 1992, he told Record Collector magazine, and I quote, "Work is a four-letter word I hated. I didn't form a group to perform Cilla Black songs." As an aside, Cilla Black was an English pop star in the 60s. Yes, I had to look that up. I had no idea who she was. That was it, really. I made a decision that I was going to get away on holiday. The only place I could think of was L.A. L.A. was the only place I knew where there'd be sunshine, so off I went. I never saw Morrissey again.
Wow.
Aww.
Yeah. I think that's not true anymore, but at the time...
No, they met up and seem to recall some story within the last 6 months that I read where they had met up for coffee somewhere.
They'd gotten together to, do some scrapbooking, I think.
Right. I think anytime they're spotted in the same city at the same time, the reunion rumors start to circle, but I think that's pretty much out of the question.
Yeah, I think so too. So if you're not English, you might not get the title reference, but Strange Ways is a high-security prison in Manchester where the band is from, so that brings a little different meaning to the album title. It was recorded near Bath, England at the Wool Hall, which is a recording studio that was owned at the time by Tears for Fears. They recorded songs from the Big Chair there. And I love this. I was digging through the old reviews. In 1987, the LA Times wrote, "If Suzanne Vega is the current apologist for the joys of solitude, Morrissey is practically a one-man cottage industry advertising its utter torment."
That's good.
And I'm like, wow, this is got Spears written all over it.
Aw.
Which leads me to my second song, a little deeper cut. Steve, could you spin up a little bit of Last Night I Dreamt That Somebody Loved Me?
Last night I dreamt that somebody loved me. No hope, no harm, just another false alarm.
By the way, guys, this album recorded near Bath, England. What other band from the 80s that we all saw perform live is also from Bath, England?
Wang Chung?
Naked Eyes.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say Wang Chung too.
I've been to Bath, England.
Have you really?
Yeah, we went a couple years ago on spring break with the kids. It was fun.
Oh, that's right. I remember seeing.
Really cool.
I remember seeing. Yeah.
The Roman baths are amazing. They are amazing. You have to go check it out.
I drove
you're
to
ever-
Bath, Maine today.
Yeah,
There's a bath in Maine.
There is a bath in Maine.
There's no bath in Florida.
I took a shower.
On every level.
Anyway,
Anyway, I got to admit, yes, this Smiths were a band I didn't really connect with until years later. I mean, literally, when Kathy Wass was a co-host of the show, and she was leaving to go to Seattle, which was probably about 10 years ago.
that's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's since returned, but before she left, we did like one final show for her, or we jammed in every show that she wanted to do before she left. So literally, the 4 weeks before she left, every show was a Kathy Wass show, and one of them was a Smiths show. And Sean Daly hates the Smiths so much that he refused to participate on that podcast. So.
Oh, geez. Oh, that would have been good radio. That's. I think you got to get the haters on there. So,
Oh my God! Speaking, I got this total aside.
Give it.
We got an email today. I don't know if you saw it, Brad, but we got an email that came in at 4:00 this afternoon, addressed to Steve and Sean.
Oh.
Whoa.
And it was a woman who, she's like, "I'm sorry about my last email, that it was cut short, but my boss walked in while I was writing it, and so I had to close it. So now I'm sending you a proper email." And so I went back to find the other email she sent, which I can't find. And it basically said, "Oh, I love your show. I love how you and Sean are always fighting, and you're talking about," and she's talking about topics that we talked about 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
And she said, she goes, "Well, totally in love with you guys as both, but platonically, because obviously Steve is in a very serious and long-lasting relationship with VGF."
Well, she is a little bit behind in her shows.
Give it another couple of weeks.
She is a
And I
little
didn't
behind.
want, and she's so cool. I don't really want to. I don't want to screw up your vibe. I was reading. I'm like, should I write her back? I mean, I don't know what to do.
She's
So-
like from the past, you guys.
I don't know. It shouldn't be an email that someone wrote 10 years ago because the address has changed and there was no forwarding thing. So she could just be listening to shows that, she's just 10 years behind. But anyway.
No, I'm proposing she's actually 10 years behind and there's some sort of space-time continuum thing happening. What was the domain of her email?
CompuServe?
There you go. You just proved my case.
So you touched on this earlier, that there are always rumors about these guys getting back together, and it seems pretty much impossible that a real reunion would ever happen because there's just so much bad blood, not only between Marr and Morrissey, but also between the other two original members who had to sue to get what they felt was their fair share of the royalties. Are there bands less likely to reunite?
I have learned from this program that Journey is that band.
No, I'd say Journey would reunite before the Smiths would. Journey's running out of time, more so than the Smiths are. Styx, probably with Dennis DeYoung. I don't see that ever happening. Oh, those are the
ABBA.
most common ones. Maybe the original lineup of UB40. I don't know. Or I tell you a good one, because they were just in the news this week. New Order.
Yeah, you're right, because they just settled a lawsuit too, didn't they?
So I would say they're probably the. I think with the right amount of time and the right amount of money, any band can reunite. So we'll see.
Anyway, I encourage you to give this album a spin. We'll put together a Spotify playlist with all the stuff on it, and you can enjoy it at your leisure.
Jen, what is your album from 30 years ago that you're going to honor tonight?
The album that I picked is by a little-known band called In Excess, and their album is called Kick.
I need you tonight, 'cause I'm not sleeping. There's something about you, girl, that makes me sweat. So how do you feel? I'm lonely. What do you think? Can't think it out. What you gonna do? Gonna live life. How do you feel? I'm lonely.
So I do not have any historical facts or context to provide about this album. I honestly, I picked it because I just loved it. When it came out, I just loved it. And I loved In Excess. And you heard the song Need You Tonight. That was probably my favorite song off of the album. I don't know. Something about it sounded so fresh and different to me. And I believe I was let's think about this, freshman in high school. So to hear sort of this sexy sound was cool, but it was very subtle, I think. And I, Mr. Michael Hutchence, I mean, as Prince says, he's a sexy MF, if you know what I mean. But really, like,
I think I do.
I'm not an NX super fan, but I find myself listening to InXS all the time. It's like one of my alarms on my phone. One of their songs is an alarm on my phone.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I love InXS, but I don't know the other members of the band, It's like Michael Hutchence. Yeah. And so apologies to anybody who is a super fan, because I should be, really. But yeah, Need You Tonight is such a cool song. Of course, New Sensation, I would guess was the biggest single from the album.
It might be Need You Tonight, actually.
You think?
Or Never Tear Us Apart might have been. I don't know. This was such a big album.
It had a lot of singles, tons of singles. Like you just mentioned, Never Tear Us Apart. Mediate, which had the video where he's got the signs like Bob Dylan. Although at the time I didn't know that. I didn't. And then it took my dad to clue me in. I'm like, oh, wow, what an inventive video. And my dad's like,
They must have blown all their budget on the other one, and so they just had some cue cards left for this one.
Right, exactly. But yeah, it's such a cool album. It's just, I love the sound. I love the cover. I mean, I don't know. Something about it just was so appealing to me, and it was one of those tapes that I would play from beginning to end, flip it over, play it side B, and flip it over again.
Yeah, this was huge. I mean, I saw this tour, would have been my junior year in college. It was huge.
Yeah.
At the Fabulous Forum, one of many nights, it was crazy. And Michael Hutchence, oh my gosh, so much stage presence.
So much. Yeah. I was very sad years later, as a lot of people were.
Can you imagine how big they would be today if he were still alive? I got to imagine this band would still be very vital.
I would like to think they'd be like Duran Duran big,
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd kind of started to tail off a little bit, but I think they would have got it back. I do think they would have got it back.
I think so too.
I agree.
You don't have someone like that as a front man and not, come back to it.
And then the other song I just wanted to play, have you played, is Mystify, because it's just like all of the songs are so cool in their own right. I think they all sound different. What I love about Need You Tonight is how he says the word raw in it. That's the way that song sounds to me. Mystify sounds spare to me.
Goes on forever, and we're leaving broke hearts behind. You mystify me, you mystify me.
I mean, I don't want to use the word mystifying, but something compelling about it. I don't know. So something like mysterious, maybe. I don't know. It's like through
Kind
every
of ethereal.
yeah,
and,
kind of like through maybe not every song on the album, but a lot of songs in the album, I felt like Michael Hutchence was about to tell me something, and if I just listened really closely, I would
like he's leaning in. He's got something for you.
Exactly.
That's cool. That's very cool.
This is just a great album, and like I said, I don't know. I got lazy with the Smiths, but I to this day listen to a lot of INXS without knowing very much about them.
I will say this is not my favorite INXS album. I still favor The Swing. I think The Swing is better top to bottom, but this is pretty strong and was my gateway to INXS, really.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of people's, probably mine too, actually.
We talk about bands that, may or may not reunite. Obviously, they can't reunite in the traditional form. But is INXS one of the bands that you would be willing to experience if they were to find the right front man that could carry on the spirit, if not the voice, of Michael Hutchence?
Absolutely.
See, I would say no. I feel like they would just be another band. I would prefer that they just call themselves another band. Like I said earlier, I know Michael Hutchence and then the people that make up the band INXS. You know what I mean? I don't know. I can't see it.
I guess I'm basing my opinion there on seeing Journey when they were touring before they had Arnel Pineda in the lineup. Right. I can't remember the guy's name. He was only with the band for like 6 months, but I was...
Augieri.
Yeah, it was Augieri, yeah. And I was pretty skeptical, but he was good. He brought his own energy to it, and he didn't try, obviously. Famously, Arnel Pineda sounds just like Steve Perry, and Augieri was not trying to do that, and it worked. It worked, and it was fun, and we had a good time. But, so that's kind of my basis. It might not really translate band to band. I don't know.
Here's a band you don't have to worry about reuniting. You just have to worry about them deciding to perform again. My pick for albums turning 30 is Rush, Hold Your Fire. Is there anyone here who's not touched by the magical experience that is listening to the song Time Stands Still?
So I'll tell you, today when I listened to it and I saw the video, the camera person walks through the frame and I'm like, that looks a lot like Amy Mann. And suddenly I realized that's Amy Mann singing the woman's part on this. Like, just blew my mind.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's one of these songs. Now, Rush is a band that we've had kind of a checkered history with here on Stuck in the 80s. Speaking of our old friend Sean Daly, he and I did a podcast. We went and we saw a Rush concert together, and I think we recorded a podcast afterwards, like
I remember that
same night or the next day. And it was just one of those like lazy Sean ideas where it's like, oh, we don't really need to have notes or a show idea. Let's just talk about the concert, and that'll be good enough. And so we did it. No offense against Sean, although clearly I meant some there, but. A lot of the things we said really upset the longtime Rush fans who were listening to us, which was surprising to us in the sense that we did not know we had any long-term Rush fans that were listening to us. But unless you are a practically a historian of this band, you will never appreciate it to the extent that a Rush fan will give you credit for it. And so it is with great danger that I even try to approach describing this album. I know there are people in the Stuck in the 80s nation who love Rush. Curtis, my buddy from the 80s Cruise, is one of them. And I told him this morning, I'm like, okay, we're going to do Rush. I'm going to talk about Rush for a few minutes. We're going to talk about Hold Your Fire. I could tell he was a little nervous, and rightfully so. So Rush is a band I had given up on long before 1987. I think the last album I bought by them was Signals, which had Subdivision and New World Man.
Oh. So good.
Hold Your Fire comes out in 1987, September 8th to be exact. It is the 12th studio album by Rush at that point.
Wow.
Obviously, the big hit was Time Stands Still, which I think got to number 3 on the mainstream rock charts. And yes, it featured Till Tuesday vocalist Amy Mann. And she was approached by the band. And she had kind of heard of them. She knew of them. She maybe had listened to some of their work.
Well, she was female, so she wouldn't be familiar.
Yeah, exactly. She came in and she heard Geddy. Geddy Lee, the bassist and vocalist for Rush, was playing through the song, and he was singing the Amy Mann parts falsetto. And she's like, well, why do you need me? Your falsetto is fantastic. Just sing it the way you're singing it now. And he's like, no. It needs to be another person. So she steps in. She records that part. They do that ridiculous video, which everyone...
it's pretty silly.
Even Rush would later admit that was a goofy video. The album itself was probably one of their least successful. It was, in fact, their least successful album of the 80s. It peaked at only number 13 on the Billboard charts. It was the lowest debut for a Rush album since Hemispheres. Although, like all Rush albums, it did eventually go platinum. Despite its poor commercial performance, the songs that the band would still play live for years to come, Force 10... Time Stands Still, and the song called Mission. A lot of people would consider this to be the last synth-driven album by Rush, which started with Signals. You could say it kind of started with Moving Pictures if you want to. But this would be the last one. Their next album, Presto, which would be the last album of the 80s for Rush, much more power rock-driven.
Okay.
A lot of people came back to Rush after
at that point.
Hold Your Fire. The other song that from this album that I kind of like... I listened to it all today, and to be honest, I didn't connect with much of it. I really love the song "Time Stands Still," but if there's a deeper cut, it's this one called "Lock and Key."
Don't wanna silence a desperate voice for the sake of security. No one wants to make a terrible choice on the price of being free. I don't wanna face the killer instinct facing you or me, so we keep it under lock and key. Lock and key.
Same idea here. Heavy on the synths, same sound. The whole album has the same kind of sound. I never even heard the song "Time Stands Still," though.
Really?
Maybe a couple years ago.
Are you kidding me?
No. Did you ever see the documentary?
Even I know this song.
Yeah, well, a couple years ago, the documentary Beyond the Lighted Stage came out about Rush. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, but I'm
It's
familiar
fantastic.
with it.
But it's on Netflix, I think, still. And I'm telling you, even if you're not a Rush fan, Jen,
What do you mean?
if you give this documentary a chance, you will love the band. You will love the band.
All right, I'll give it a shot. What's the title of the documentary?
Beyond the
Lighted
Beyond
Stage.
the Lighted. All right.
It's fantastic. It was done by Banger Films, which also did the Flight 666 by Iron Maiden. I'm telling you, it's just a masterpiece in storytelling. But Time Stands Still kills me every time. And there was like this real mopey moment a few months ago, well, which for me could happen at any given moment, right? I was listening to the song, and I started reading the lyrics as I was doing it, and it just tore me up.
Oh, man.
The whole idea was Neil Peart, the drummer, wrote this song at a time when he was kind of realizing that things were going kind of fast, and he wasn't able to take time and focus on the pleasures in the moment at hand. And he just kind of felt like he wanted to tap the brake a little bit. And so we have these lines like, freeze this moment a little bit longer, make each sensation a little bit stronger. Experience slips away, the innocence slips away. And I'm listening to this song, and I'm this nostalgia guy.
Yeah, this should be the theme song, I think, for this podcast.
But I'm torn because it's like the moment that I want to hold on to are the moments from 30 years ago. The moments I'm experiencing now are the ones that I'm willing to let slip away. And so I keep listening to the song, and I keep looking like I'm reading a math problem over and over again, trying to see the obvious solution that everybody else sees, and I can't do it. And it just,
man,
over and over again. I'm looking back, but I want to look around me now. See more of the people and the places that surround me now. Freeze this moment a little bit longer. This song kills me. And for that reason alone, I had to pick Ultra Fire from my song from 1987. Did I do a good job there? Did I get the point across?
Yeah, I mean, it was
I
quite
think so.
melancholy, but I don't think it was...
That's what I was going. Okay, that's
Okay,
fine.
good. No, it's good. Then mission accomplished.
And yet, epically Spearsonian.
Yeah, totes.
I'm telling you, that's sincere. That's not a bunch of...
Yeah, no, I
Every
believe
time I
you.
listen to the song, I'm like, I get all teary and like, you know, my contacts get moisturized.
Well, you know what it is, and I'm not that familiar with the song. I think I might have heard it on like the oldie station, but I experience this feeling a lot as a mother, and it's wonderful and it sucks. It's awful and beautiful, but it's that feeling of nostalgia in the moment, and it's a difficult feeling. It's really hard because it feels so good, and it also feels so terrible because you know it's gonna pass. You know it's gonna pass.
The realization that something is happening that's amazing and it's not going to last for very long.
Oh my God, Brad, you must be going through this right now with what you're going through. Both your kids are in college.
You know, it's funny. I know everybody kind of wants me to feel that way.
Yeah.
But I'm doing okay. I mean, part of it is, well, not part of it. Most of it, 90% of it is that both of them seem to be doing really well, you know, and that makes me feel really good as a parent. So,
yeah, that's great.
What makes Brad cry is the fact that Cameron's made a bunch of friends and is working on projects and is having a good time at school. And Clara's doing great in, you know, she's only had like a week of classes, but she's met some people and she's got some friends in the dorm and she's, you know, engaging with some social stuff. And it's like, oh, you know, they're doing it. They, you know, they don't need me to hector them to, you know, take a shower and eat food and go to class and do their homework. They're just kind of handling it. It's like, oh my gosh, how'd that happen? It's kind of amazing.
Nice work.
Speaking of nostalgia, you know what other moment I'd like to hold on to a little bit longer?
The Seggies.
So it's Reader Mailbag, and we found someone who's even more nostalgic for the moment than we are being right now. Kind of a little too candidly, maybe. It's never too candidly for Stuck in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
No, we love the candid.
Yeah. It's been a rough couple of weeks here for everybody. Oh, my God. Ron Raymond Jr., our benevolent 80s overlord from Maine, wrote in. Should we let Jen read this one? Because he's from Maine.
You know, you guys are basically neighbors, right?
You know
Don't
what's
you guys
funny is
together in the produce section?
well, we're friends on Facebook and we email each other or message each other once in a while. We've never met, and I was gonna go. He had an extra ticket to see the Retro Futura tour a few weeks ago, and I couldn't go, and I was so bummed because I was like, I wanted to go to that show so badly, and to have gone with like a fellow 80s connoisseur would have been really great.
So your buddy Ron, who used to host a radio weekly show called Stuck in the 80s on WMPG in Portland for about 20 years, shared this story with us about after hearing our Teachers in the 80s episode. So, Jen, take it away.
Do you remember Song Hits magazine? Well, long before the interweb, there weren't many places one could find the lyrics to hit songs that weren't already on the inside liner notes of albums. So there was this monthly magazine called Song Hits, and they published the lyrics of current hits for rock, soul, and country singles. At the time, it was actually a popular magazine, and I bought this magazine whenever I could, which wasn't often. Somehow, I managed to get my hands on an issue during the summer of 1980, so I could read along to the songs while listening to Casey Kasem's American Top 40 countdowns. One of my favorite...
Number 7.
Totally. One of my favorite memories of junior high school in Winslow, Maine involved Song Hits magazine, my favorite junior high teacher, and the Rolling Stones. I had my most recent acquisition with me in math one day, and before class started, a classmate wanted to look at my magazine. I was very protective of my Song Hits magazine, and though I was reluctant, I let him take a gander at it before class. Well, the class got underway, and he still had my magazine. Our math teacher, the late, great Robert Curion Jr., who passed away in 2013, noticed the magazine and walked to my classmate's desk, picked up the magazine, thumbed through the pages, and came across the lyrics to the newest Rolling Stone song, Emotional Rescue. And then, surprising everyone, he started a straight reading of the song's lyrics. Is there nothing I can say, nothing I can do to change your mind? I'm so in love with you. You're too deep in, you can't get out. You're just a poor girl in a rich man's house. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Everyone in the class started laughing, and he gave the magazine back. I'll remember that moment forever, and others like the last day of my freshman year when I convinced Mr. Q to pose for a photo with a boombox on his shoulder pressed against his ear. I still have that photo. He was a great man and a fun teacher. So glad to be caught up again on the podcast. Thanks for keeping the 80s revolution going well into the 2010s. Your main benevolent 80s overlord, Ron Raymond Jr.
Wow. That's
a great story.
Yeah.
I'm smiling here so much that I think my face is going to break.
What?
Seriously.
It's like we don't even know you anymore, man.
I know.
It explains a lot, though, because Ron also has a blog that I hope we can link to, because I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But he goes through and dissects songs. I mean, he's the biggest charts nerd, and the fact that he was reading Song Hits magazine in 1980, I think that explains a lot.
It all kind of lines up.
Yeah, exactly.
Fact
That's
check,
so
true.
cool,
Yeah, and if Ron Raymond Jr. is listening to this, I'm thinking he should go to the Purple Brains concert in Portland, Maine for Halloween. So just putting that out there.
I hear that's a good time.
It is. You're all invited too, not just Ron, everybody.
Aw.
Yeah.
If you have a letter, we'd love to get them. Just send them to podcast@sit80s.com. The ever mysterious refrain that is, I want my what? I want my mystery TV theme song. Is that what we call
That's
it?
it. You got it.
Yeah,
Correct
only took
in
3
one.
chances. Arg. You know this Seggy by now. We're going to play a snippet of a theme song from a TV show from the 80s. If you get it right, you are entered into a drawing for a bottle opener. By the way, I got to say this. I did actually make true on my quest last weekend to look through my house for the missing 80s cruise trucker hats. They exist somewhere here, and I cannot find them. And so now I think there's 3 people whose addresses I can find. I will send you a Stuck in the 80s hat instead.
Ooh.
At my expense. So look for that in the mail.
Sweet.
In the meantime, pay attention. Here was the clip from the last time we did this, Seggy. Yep, that's Fraggle Rock.
Yay.
Yeah, I didn't watch this show. Down a Fraggle Rock.
I felt really guilty after the Spencer for Hire thing. So I tried to put one out there that people would get. And this, it's a catchy little song. It's funny because I haven't heard or sang or thought about this song in 30 years, but just grabbing the first 4 or 5 seconds of it, I've had the whole song running through my head for the last 3 weeks, and I'm like, I didn't know I knew the words to this song, but I know the words to this song. Oh yes, I do.
I'm looking through all the winners, and you know who I don't see? I don't see Dave Augie August, and somebody accused us this week of. Is he?
Yep.
I see him.
And he splits line.
Oh, son of a bitch. Yeah, he wins every week, just so you know.
Yeah.
He's always there. He's the one guy who always makes the list. Anyway.
My mom loved this show, so we watch it all the time. I think it was just the whimsy of it. She thought it was really funny.
I honest to God don't know that I ever saw a complete episode.
I don't know how it would hold up today, but at the time, hey, the standards were lower. There were only 3 networks.
They still have cartoons today? I don't even
Yeah,
know.
they do. They have Fraggle Rock, too.
Do they really?
No, they don't.
They're not still making new Fraggle Rocks, are they?
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. But, I'm going to have to go and look and see if I can find one of the old episodes just to see, like I said, does it still hold up?
I think so. I think they're cute and they're sort of a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But I remember a lot of my friends' little brothers and sisters watching this show. So it always sort of seemed to be on in the background whenever I went to people's houses. Yeah.
That checks out.
Brad, read the winners.
Winners this week include Ed from West Seattle, Billy in Paducah, Joe in Michigan, Isis Nice Chris, Dave Augie August, DJ in Clinton, Dave Parrott, the man known only as Rowan, Canuck and Callie, Tim in Toadsuck, Steve in Ventura, your main benevolent 80s overlord Ron Raymond Jr., Bernie the Dutch Oven Lindemann from Sydney, Australia, Tom Korn in Austria, Brent White, John Hayes, Aaron S. from Burnaby, British Columbia, Jay Swash in Beaver Creek, Brian Hunt, Jose Sierra, Anfield Albert, Aaron Jones, Jeremy in St. Pete, Florida, the unsinkable Molly Jones, Alex Peter, Carlos M. Hernandez, and Peter Ryan.
Spin the wheel, Brad. Let's find out who won.
Spin the wheel. Get check.
Oh, it looks like it's going to land on... Anfield Albert, you are this week's winner.
Anfield Albert, are you a Liverpool Football Club fan, or is it some other Anfield?
I don't know. That'd be great. Anyway,
let us know when you send us your mailing address.
Yeah. Send us your mailing address to podcast@sit80s.com. In the meantime, pay attention. Here's this week's TV theme song picked out by the one and only Jen with one N. If you know it, email us at podcast@sit80s.com. Insider jokes not included. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
To America's best, as they look to Australia and the America's Cup Challenge.
But for all that you do, you got the stuff to come through. A long way from home, but you're not alone. It's your country's home. So I'll sing with you. You make America work, and this fight's for you.
And we're back. We have just a few minutes left. I thought it's time to play our old favorite game. What's your 80s obsession? Jen, what's your 80s obsession?
So my 80s obsession this week comes with a little story. I'll keep it brief. In Maine, we have a little rink, a roller skating rink called Happy Wheels. And I have been there many times. Nice. And I actually went this past Sunday. My daughter's friend was celebrating her 7th birthday. So naturally I went and got a pair of skates and skated around and loved it. It's so fun. It was awesome.
Nice.
So I skate over to the side and I see a fellow mother and she's got the most amazing roller skates, which she's taking off of her feet. So these things are turquoise. The wheels and the stopper are what I can only describe as hot purple. It's like this magical mix of like pink and purple, but it's like, but it's not quite magenta. It's a color that doesn't exist except for on these skates.
Pantone has not yet categorized this color.
Exactly. And the laces are gold. So I skate over to this fellow mom. Yeah, I know. I skate over to this fellow mom and I'm like, what is this? And she's like, well, I just bought these new skates. I got them online and I just tried them and they're not comfortable on my ankle. And I was like, really? She said, yeah. What? And she's like, would you be interested? And I was like, what size are they? And she says, 7.5 my size. I'm like, let me try them on. So I take off the rink skates. I put these skates on and I go around for a few songs. And they're
songs.
Yeah, well,
she skates out the door and leaves her daughter there and
bye!
Steals the skates.
She'll get home. So I skated, and I wanted to make sure if I was considering purchasing these that they were comfortable, and they were like fine. And then I realized, wait, these are brand new skates. Like the reason my other skates were so comfortable is 5,000 feet had been in them before breaking them in. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm sure these skates are fine. So I skated back to the mom and I said, listen, I think you should try these again. Like give them another try, wear thicker socks or something, but you should try them at least a couple more times before you give up. However, should you decide to get rid of those, give me a call. I'll buy them from you. So I'm now I was like doing the math and I was like, okay, if I go to Happy Wheels 90 times and don't rent the skates and just buy these skates, I'll have broken even if I go 90 times, which is just 5 times a year for the next 6 years. And I think that's pretty good.
I haven't done the math here.
Your math is problematic.
How much does she want?
That's problematic.
I think she said 80, something like that.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, they're not like, but I was just, being silly. But so anyway, I was like, these things will pay themselves off in 6 years.
No problem. And you could deliver food on them at Sonic.
And I could make some extra cash, and I would probably decrease that to 4 years. So fast. Yeah. Anyway, these skates are amazing, and now I'm actually at the point where I'm like, maybe I'll just buy them, like buy my own pair. I don't know.
That's funny.
Anyway, you guys, these skates are amazing.
I have a pair of skates like those. They're silver with blue wheels.
Really?
And I wore them yeah.
Do you still have them, Steve? Do you still have them?
Yeah. They're indoor-outdoor skates.
Nice.
They're downstairs in my garage right now.
When's the last time you skated on them?
10 years ago.
I skate. You skate.
You know what's
Let's
cool
get
though?
Together and
there's
a skating team.
I think we mentioned this on a previous podcast. There's a old timey roller skating rink that's within walking distance of where I live.
That's awesome.
Cimarron
you need to check
Speedway.
it out.
I saw video. They have 80s night like every week.
Whoa.
This is foreordained.
Okay, here's the deal, guys.
As was told in the prophecy.
I am being forced to go to Disney World with my family, in November.
Yeah. Right.
And so I think Steve and I should go roller skating.
Yeah.
Right?
But will you be here on a Saturday night? That's when 80s night is.
Well, can't we
Or
just
maybe
go and
we
request 80 songs one after the other?
Here's a shiny new $20 bill if you just play
You're
R.E.M.
going.
Speedwagon all night.
I'm going. You're going. We're all
We're
going.
all going. Well, you know what? They wind up playing 80 songs between Taylor Swift songs anyway. I mean,
We'll make it happen.
yeah.
We'll make it happen.
All right, good.
Yeah,
good.
it's funny because my daughter, right before she left for college, went roller skating with a bunch of her friends, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, it was so much fun, and the people were so nice, and there are these old people there, and they were really good." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's because they've been
They're
doing
really
that
good.
stuff
They
since
have,
they
like,
were
lights.
12."
Yeah.
Yeah, and those
she
are the
had a
people that have
great
lights
time.
on underneath.
Oh,
their-
that's
on
funny.
their skates.
So, Brad, what is your 80s obsession?
My 80s obsession this week is a little movie called Table 19. So I know 80s Nation hates a remake. If you want to invoke rage in the 80s Nation, you say, hey, they're remaking insert John Hughes movie here. And if I said to you, hey, guys, they're remaking Breakfast Club, you'd draw and quarter me, and that would be the end of it.
Right.
But Table 19 it's not a remake. It would never, it just isn't, but it is an homage in a lot of ways to the Breakfast Club, and it plays out really well when you kind of have that in mind. The premise is Table 19 is the table off in the corner at the wedding reception where kind of, all the odds and ends end up. If you've ever set up a wedding, you know that there's always this group of people. You're like, I don't even know why these people are coming, but okay, we'll seat them over here in this corner and let them figure it out. So that's what this movie is about. It basically covers the reception of this wedding and these misfit strangers who are thrown together for an afternoon. There are a lot of parallels, obvious and less obvious, to what goes on in the Breakfast Club. The character makeup and some of the situations they find each other in, and it was a lot of fun. Now, I will grant you, I saw it on an airplane, so sometimes you're a little more open to entertainment in that situation because you're just looking for something to fill the time. But I really like this.
It has 24% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is so interesting because the cast is amazing. It's Craig Robinson, Lisa Kudrow, Stephen Merchant. These are funny people. Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I liked it. If you hate it, then fine, whatever. I enjoyed it. A movie that my friend Miles pointed me towards, and he basically said to me, I think you'll like this. He said the same thing. The critics have kind of ripped this one apart, but I thought it was pretty fun. So check it out.
I'm going to try it.
I'll try it. Sure, why not? You say it's where can I find it? Is it on Netflix or Amazon or?
I'm not sure. It was just on the airplane, so it might not be in the streaming window
we
yet.
need to go on an
let
airplane.
me find out.
So, yeah.
So you need to take a trip someplace. It is available for rent on Amazon Video. It's like $5.
Okay, well there we go. So here's my 80s obsession. So for years now, I have gaps in my 80s movie knowledge because either I was too old to properly see a movie in the 80s, like The Goonies or E.T., or for some reason I just kind of skipped a chapter for no apparent reason. And one of those examples would be Big Trouble in Little China. I have never seen this movie. And
wow,
when Hurricane Irma hit Florida, one of the things it did was it knocked out my power for 3 days, which was lovely. But then it knocked out, after the power came back, I still didn't have cable or internet for a week. So I was confined with, I could watch any DVD that I owned or anything that I had on my DVR, but that was it. And so after watching Blue Chips, the basketball movie with Nick Nolte, like 5 straight times over 5 straight days, I don't know why. It's easy because it was on my DVR.
In the tray.
It was
there.
Push play. No, it wasn't even a DVD. So I started looking through my 80s DVDs that I had never seen that are still in the wrapper that I bought because I knew that someday I would need to watch them or use audio clips for the show. And there was Big Trouble in Little China. And so last Saturday, I stuck it in there, and I had there's nothing else I could do. And I watched it for the first time, and I really, really liked it. I mean, I get what people say now about it. I mean, I understand why people like it. You have to sit there and watch the whole thing. But is it dated? Sure. Are the special effects a little corny? You bet. But, suspension of disbelief, and it works out okay. I had a great time. It was like the highlight of Hurricane Irma for me was watching Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. I remember reading, I don't know, it was probably a year ago now, but there was a short oral history about it in an issue of Entertainment Weekly
Oh, nice.
That was really fun. Yeah, if you can find it online, it's worth reading. It's not very long, but it sort of gives a little background of the casting and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a thing. Basically, they said Jack Burton thinks he's the hero of this movie, but he's actually the sidekick.
Right.
And that just cast this light on. I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. I never could have put it that succinctly.
Right. It's an unlikely movie in so many ways.
Also, though, guys, what a great title! Like, I love that title so much.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
And I don't think they ever say it in the movie, but it's implied. Because
there's a lot of trouble. Yes, it's true.
Right.
Oh.
And the woman who's writing the story for the newspaper, they're like, "What are you going to call it?" She's like, "I don't know yet." And of course, you're like, "Big Trouble in Little China."
You're like yelling at the screen.
I got a hot tip for you, lady.
Hey, we had a great time reviewing some of our favorite albums from the fall of 1987. If you have one, email us at podcasts@sit80s.com. Don't forget to join the private FanDuel League. In the meantime, Jen, myself, Jack Burton, and Brad in L.A., along with the members of Rush. As time stands still, we remain here, hopelessly stuck in the 80s.
Stuck in the 80s is a member of the CLNS Media Network. Special thanks to Check Battery Daily for our theme music. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or the CLNS Media mobile app.